What's up guys, Tactical Gimmicks here with another Total War Arena video. I just did a video about the user interface for the game. I did a video about the different currencies in the game. And this is going to be a quick video about the different cavalry in the game. Now I don't remember, I did a little bit of a comparison, but all of the four current factions do have a cavalry tree. And they all are slightly different. And we'll start at the top. Actually, no, we're going to start with the Barbarians, which will be the top. Barbarians is the cav that I'm playing right now. So we're just going to look at tier 10 cav because it kind of it scales through everything. And the Barbarians are a little weird because they have a mix of sword cavalry, they have a mix of sword and spear cavalry. Your spear cav is going to do better against other spear cav, or it's going to do better against other cavalry, and your sword cav is going to do better against infantry. So keep that in mind when you're selecting your units. If you find yourself predominantly engaging enemy cavalry, then maybe it would be to your advantage to use Harbingers instead of Noble Horsemen. Maybe, just maybe. There's a trade-off with stats, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that if you were doing tier 10, like tier 9 and tier 10 play, that Harbingers wouldn't be viable. But they do have a pix. They do have it jumps back and forth between sword and spear cav. Now, Germanic cav prides themselves on mobility. They're the fastest and most maneuverable units in the game, hands down. Their survivability, their health. On this particular unit, it's not so bad. Jumping back to tier 4, where I am right now, the damage is really low, the survivability is really low. They've got some good defense points, which is weird because they're basically fucking naked. And they're really quick. They're super quick, and they don't get much quicker after tier 4. They steadily get a little bit quicker and a little bit quicker. I guess these Blood Riders are really fast. This Mounted Warband is even faster. So this Mounted Warband is going to be the fastest unit that we're going to unlock. And then it starts to trade off. But in terms of tier 10 units, in terms of tier 10 cav units, your Noble Horse is going to be the quickest. Your Barbarians are going to be the fastest. They also are... The Noble Horse is a little bit skewed, but if you hover over aggression, most of their damage comes from charge impact and impact damage. This Noble Horse has some really high melee attack, but if we look at like tier 9, charge attack and impact damage, charge attack and impact damage, and some melee attack because they've got swords. These Blood Riders, charge impact and impact damage. And I think most cav probably have that charge impact damage way towards the top, but it's especially high with the Barbarian units. I think the Greek units have a higher charge impact, but we'll get to them in a minute. Actually, we'll get to them right now. No, we'll get to them in a minute, because what we're going to look at is, with the fastest cav units in the game, they're the fastest, and they predicate most of their damage on that charge impact. What commanders do you want to use with Barbarian cav? So Arminius you start with, he's already got 3 bonuses that are great for cav. He's got Momentum, which makes you go faster. He's got Frenzy, which makes you do damage but take more damage. And he's got Infiltration, which lets you disguise yourself as the enemy, and I cannot wait to unlock that. So all 3 of those things are great to use as cav. Infiltration, I'm interested to see how that plays out. I think a skilled player will be able to make that probably the most powerful ability in the game. Pardon my yawning. I think a skilled player will probably turn infiltration into the most powerful ability in the game, which could be really cool. Uh, Boudica gets a uh, set of abilities that don't affect cavalry except for one. She only has one. Her tier 5 ability is a buff that does affect cavalry, so you can pretty much discard her. She has this ambush ability, but it doesn't affect Cav for whatever reason, and then Fury doesn't affect Cav. Vercingetorix is all about sword units, so he might be good. Um, Not might be good. He is good for infantry. He's got Unbreakable, Scorched Earth, which lets you throw fire on the ground and it does damage to anybody that's standing in it. And then he gets a huge damage buff, similar to Frenzy, but without the debuff that goes with it. So all of these things are great, but they're great for sustained combat. And Arminius is set up, especially with momentum and Frenzy. He's set up for hit and run tactics and cycle charging. So because, at least in my opinion, because the barbarian cav is so quick, I'm gonna side with Arminius, and maybe I get down the line and I start playing noble horses somewhere down the road, and I find myself bogging down in the midst of the field of battle and not cycling charges anymore and actually standing up and fighting, and then maybe I should re-roll Vercingetorix. But that's not how I've been playing Barbarian Cav as of right now, and I don't really have any plans of changing that, so it is what it is. I would definitely recommend Arminius over Vercingetorix for the beginning tiers of cavalry because the opening cav units are so weak and deal so little damage that there's no point in playing them with Vercingetorix. I would say if you were going to try to play as Vercingetorix, maybe take him up to tier 4 or tier 5 with infantry and learn how infantry works and how to counter infantry, and then jump over to your mounted warband. Will probably be the best way to do that. Alright, let's take a look at the Greeks. The Greeks have spear cavalry as well. They have no sword cavalry. But where it says spear cavalry, these are actually pike cavalry. So this is like a mounted phalanx. So where the Greek cav shine is killing other horses, and making essentially a moving phalanx and charging into the enemy like with lances. If you think of like Polish hussars, that's what they do. They, taking a look at these Hellenic cataphracts, their charge impact damage and their impact damage, it is more than the barbarians. It is that, just looking at that, it's more. It's way more. But their melee weapon damage is low. Their melee weapon penetration is low. Their morale flank damage is, it's respectable. Their survivability is low. Their defense is pretty good, but their survivability is low, and they're the slowest cav units on the field. So, even though they can get on top of and kill other cav, or they not get on, they can kill other cav relatively easily if they get a good charge on them, just like just like a cav unit would be affected by charging into a pike wall. They kill another cav unit just like that. It's hard for them to get on top of another cav unit because everybody else will be faster than them and should be faster than them. Just jumping back now that I'm looking at their thing. Yeah, so way faster. I've never had a problem outrunning Greek cav as the barbarian cav. Now, what Greek commanders might be good for cav? Well, Alexander the Great is he's a cavalry commander. He's literally made for that line. He's got a movement speed and impact damage buff. He's got a debuff to movement speed, charge deflect, melee defense, and then he also gets the wedge formation, which gives him even more charge impact, melee defense and impact, or lowers his melee defense and impact damage. So he could theoretically roll up, pop anvil on somebody, drop charge on himself, and go into a wedge formation, and then just like deal an absolute ridiculous amount of damage to another unit. I think he got nerfed though. I was reading in the closed beta, apparently, with Alexander in the upper tier play, what a lot of people were doing, and I'm sure this would still work, is popping all three of those abilities at the same time, and then charging another player, and effectively just like stack wiping them, killing all three of their units in a single charge without any real skill needed. You just had to kind of get there and unlock the Hellenic Cataphracts, which is their tier 10 unit, and then you could do that. So I think he did get like kind of a debuff recently, so that just like any of the other cavalry units that are out there, if you do charge and if you do pull off a charge on a infantry, a sword wielding infantry unit, um, you're not going to wipe them out completely on your charge, and if you sit there and fight, you will eventually lose. I have to admit, I haven't really looked at Leonidas or Miltiades. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Hit the comment section and and correct me, but they both have bonuses for spear wielding units. So we'll take a quick unit. So shielded melee infantry, shielded melee infantry, shielded melee infantry. So Leonidas has no bonuses for Cav. Miltiades has no. He has only one bonus for Cav, and it's a debuff that can be cast on enemy units that slows them down immediately. So nowhere near. So Miltiades doesn't rank anywhere near Alexander the Great. Senani, she is. It's all. She's got rapid advance, which is available to everybody, and it makes them run quicker. But Alexander the Great has that with Hammer, and then she has Hunt, which actually also works on Cav. It increases view duration, which is nice, and affects enemy units. Mark an enemy unit, granting vision on it even if it moves out of line of sight. Oh, so that's kind of cool, but that doesn't really help Cav that much. People shouldn't be moving out of your line of sight. And then she has an archer infantry. So Kanane, probably good to play as if you want to play Cav, but you don't have the points to unlock Alexander the Great yet. So that's who you should already have her, and that's who you would want to play. So this is my recommendation with the Greeks right now. They're slow. They're slower than the other four factions. And if you are the type of player where you want to go and hunt down other Cav, play this faction. But you can still do some really good charges on infantry. Still get some really good charges in. Then roll this faction. But you're not going to get to places quite as quickly as you will with the Germans, which is what I particularly like about them. Now, the Roman Empire, let's take a look at their commanders really quick. Actually, we're not. Julius Caesar, he's all about fucking siege equipment. Germanicus is all about infantry, so we're going to skip those. Scipio is all about the Cav. So he gets debuff on enemies for moral and defense. He gets a movement speed, acceleration, impact damage, just kind of like everybody else. And then he gets a Oath of Perseverance, which is a defensive buff. And the reason why this is nice is we'll jump over to their tree really quick. The Romans have, it's all technically spear. No, it's not. It is not. Why is it not showing me? There we go. Their first three units are spear. Cav, but their last three units are Sword Cav. They are just a smidgen faster than Greek Cav. Like, basically the same speed as Greek Cav, but their defense is through the roof, and their defense is through the roof. Their charge impact is pretty good, but really where they shine is that they can go toe to toe with infantry units for an extended period of time, unlike any other unit that's on the battlefield. Um, and that's where that last ability for Germanicus comes into play. So if you're the type of player that likes to go out and track down infantry and have prolonged engagements with infantry and you find yourself taking damage, you should think about re-rolling Germanicus and rolling the Romans so that you can go out and you can fight infantry on their own terms, but still have the mobility of cavalry and still get the charge bonuses of cavalry and all of that fun stuff. Not Germanicus, Scipio. You should unlock Scipio and then roll Roman cavalry. And that Oath of Perseverance, once you hit level 5, that's going to let you get in and do some good fighting with enemy infantry. Sulla is kind of an all-around unit. I don't know how I feel about him. I'm sure there's some people that I've seen do really well with him, but he's kind of a peculiar character. So he gets an ability Fortify that's only available to melee infantry. But then he has this whip that is available to all units in the Roman lineup, and it has a 16-second cooldown, which is pretty good. That's kind of amazing. But it increases movement speed, and it increases melee weapon penetration and melee attack by 40%. But you do take a minus 25% morale. That morale isn't a huge deal if you're cycle charging. So this is largely a big buff for a cavalry player. And then he has Prescription, which is a minus 40% melee attack for surrounding enemy units. Which is... Oh, but it affects yourself too. Which is... it hurts my head. So where to get around this? So basically, to make this work is you want to target somewhere that's being targeted by... this is almost kind of like suicide because there's friendly fire in the game. But you pop this ability when you're somewhere that ranged units are attacking units near you, and then those units are going to take... Oh, well, no. No, I'm saying that wrong. You pop this when the units around you are attacking a other unit. So, like, if you were back-charging infantry that are fighting infantry from your team, and you pop this, then those infantry will do less damage. I don't know, I'm fucking rambling. It's a dumb ability. That it affects yourself too, it's a dumb ability. Fuck this. No, fuck Sulla. Roll Scipio. If you want to do... I'm sure there's some people that I've seen that play Sulla, and I'm sure he's gimmicky and he's right up my alley. I'll figure out how he plays, and maybe it's worth my time. But that seems like a really gimmicky... I don't see the advantage of debuffing your attack while debuffing the enemy's attack unless the enemy outnumbers you. But if the enemy outnumbers you, chances are they're flanking you, and debuffing their attack isn't gonna fucking change that. Like, it's just not. But maybe I'm wrong. Somebody prove me wrong. Hit the comment section and prove me wrong. So if you want to fight enemy infantry hand to hand in the pits, roll Scipio and roll the Romans. Now, Hannibal doesn't have a lot of cavalry focus. His determination ability, which you can go and... it buffs your defense and attack and ignores 50% of terrain modifiers, can affect cavalry. But his brother Hasdrubal has a a better charge ability. He's got deep pockets that can be used to buff anything, buff defense, attack, and morale. And then he's got a bribe, which is a weapon damage and weapon attack debuff on enemy units. So his abilities, Hasdrubal's abilities, are pretty straightforward. All of them can be used to affect cavalry. So let's take a look at the Carthaginian cavalry and then we'll wrap up this video. They don't unlock cavalry until tier 5. I must admit, I haven't seen any there we go. No, this isn't. Wait, give me 1 second. This is still. There we go. Now let's go to. There we are. Okay. So they don't get. They don't get cavalry until rank 5, so you kind of got to go down the tree a little bit with the hoplites, and then you get there. But they have some pretty quick units, not as quick as the barbarian units, but pretty quick, faster than Greek and faster than Roman units. Um, and something that you get with these guys is, I think, except for the elite hippies and the yeah, so the Numidian cavalry and the elite hippies have give me 1 second, just because I haven't gotten these yet. Do they all have it? No, they don't. Alright, so with the exception of the elite hippies, which play like Great Cav, they have the pikes on the Cav, the lances on the Cav. I think the Numidian cavalry are kind of like that too, but all of, not all of, but most of the Carthaginian Cav have a ranged projectile launch. That annoying ass. I should actually be going for Carthaginian. Now that I think about this, I should, because that's kind of more my. That is a little more, not more my playstyle, but that would be nice to come out and then throw a projectile at somebody and do a bunch of damage and then run away. That would be pretty cool. And the Numidian cavalry are pretty quick. At 695 for tier 10, I think they're not that much slower than a noble horse. A noble horse could get on top of them, but a noble horse, being that it's a sword unit, should actually lose out an engagement with the Numidian Cav. And the whole strategy with your noble horse, if you're playing barbarians and you're at tier 10, is not to fight other Cav. You don't want to fight other Cav with barbarian Cav. You want to avoid them, and you're faster than them. You want to run away from them. Unless you have a numerical advantage, you are not going to beat other Cav. You need to be flanking, charging, surprising, ambushing. Flanking, charging, surprising, and ambushing. Get that through your fucking head. Cap points, back charge, don't fight other Cav, run away from other Cav. Fight other barbarian Cav if you have a numerical advantage or a terrain advantage, but don't fight any other Cav with barbarian Cav. Just go for a run and kite them with you and go find something more important to do. And now you've pinned their unit, they've committed it to you. Think about it like chess. They've committed it to you, and you're off doing bigger and better things. Now that being said, Carthaginian cavalry are going to be the same way. But if you're playing in tier 10, if you're a Numidian vanguard, and somebody with a barbarian cav comes charging at you, turn on them and fucking take it to them. Because you've got spears and they have swords, you will win that exchange. And on top of that, you can run around and you can throw spears at people. But then other than that, you have to play the Carthaginians roughly the same way that you play the barbarians. You have to run around, and you have to be sneaky, and you have to ambush. That being said, Hasdrubal's abilities, the flying column and the deep pockets and the bribe. Those are those aren't as sneaky and they're not as fast as Barbarian Cav. So like you still want to play the same way, but you do have a little more flexibility to engage more. So I really should be playing Carthaginian Cav. I don't know why I'm gonna go. I mean, no, I know why I'm gonna go down the Barbarian tree, but like really for my playstyle, I really should be playing Carthaginian Cav. Do I need to be as fast as Barbarian Cav? Probably not. Um, I could probably be a little slower as long as I was faster than Roman Cav and faster than Greek Cav. Then I'm happy as long as I can get away with them and not have to fight them and continue doing cycle charges. But if I was in situations where I'm like, I really want to do damage to this unit, I find myself in a lot of positions where I'm like, I know that I should do some damage to this unit. Um, so maybe I'll charge them really quick and then I'll run away and I'll go find something else to do. With Carthage, you could just chuck some spears at them. Just throw some spears at them and then fuck off and go do your thing elsewhere, uh, without having to charge them. That would be super nice. I think not tonight. Obviously, I'm gonna head to bed in a minute, but I think I should be re-rolling Carthage. I really think I should be re-rolling Carthage. That might not be a bad plan, but then I'd have to do some spear gameplay. I'd have to get up 7,600 free XP, which is going to take a little bit, and I just spent all of this money on buffing up Arminius. Shit. Deep drink. Deep, deep, deep drink. Um, Damn. Well, I know what I'm doing now. I'm re-rolling Carthage. I'm re-rolling Carthage, guys. I'm gonna go for it. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I'm gonna keep playing this game. It's fucking awesome. I'm gonna have the Barbarians and I'm gonna have Carthage. That's what's gonna happen. So hit the like and subscribe section. Hit the comment section. If you didn't like anything that I've said, please come and challenge me. And we'll see you guys later for more Total War battles.